Darth Vader issue 22 by Charles Soule with art by Giuseppe Camuncoli gave us our best look at the ancient Sith so far. Granted, it was just 2 Sith and was very limited in scope, but I'll take what we can get at this point. If you're not caught up, this story has been building since 2015 in the Lando comic, when we first saw a mysterious helmet that had the power to corrupt and potentially possess people. Then the Darth Vader comic revealed how it wound up in the hands of the Emperor, and now we've finally learned who the helmet truly belonged to. Today we're covering the history of Momin. When Momin was a child, he showed one of the classic signs of a serial killer, mutilating animals, but he did so in the name of art. As he grew up, the impulse only got worse, so he was locked up by his people. A Sith lady named Shah heard about him and broke him out, claiming him as her apprentice. She taught him to harness the dark side until he killed her, like Sith apprentices tend to do. He did not take up a student of his own and decided to focus on creating art that would impress the Force itself. So he built a super weapon, again, like the Sith tend to do. This one was meant to burn a world, causing fear and anguish in an entire civilization, an occasion that Momin wished to freeze and capture in time forever. The Jedi interrupted his concentration, so his plan failed, although he was successful in killing a great many people. It looks like the process consumed Momin and left his consciousness trapped in his helmet. The Jedi then took the helmet and locked it away in a secret room in the Temple archives, and after Order 66, Palpatine found it and gave it to Vader for inspiration designing his fortress. As seen in issue 21, Momin possessed Vader's architect's assistant and created the base design for what we see constructed on Mustafar in Rogue One. Vader then captured a Mustafarian, forcing him to wear the helmet and act as Momin's body. Momin's spirit, I guess, explained that the fortress would act as a key to unlock the door to the dark side, going so far as to claim it would allow him to see Padme again. Vader allows him to begin his work, and Momin claims it will be his masterpiece. Wow, so a lot happens in this issue, and we have so much to break down. First, even though it's not explicitly stated, it's strongly implied that the planet Momin attacked was Mustafar. When the helmet realizes where it is, he says, I'm still on Mustafar. The last thing Momin or the helmet would have remembered was his failed attempt at freezing destruction on whatever planet he and his superweapon were on. Momin even tells Vader Mustafar wasn't always covered in lava, and he also said his initial plan was to burn a city to ash. So yeah, I think Momin basically created Mustafar as we know it, and all the death, pain, and anguish would surely make it strong in the dark side of the Force. Now that raises some questions for me. Questions we don't have answers to yet, like who built the Sith Shrine on Mustafar? Where in the timeline does this all take place? If I had to guess, this all happened over 1,000 years before the events of the films. Momin seemed to learn under a kinda sorta rule of 2 type teaching, but he took no apprentice of his own. His death would have meant the end of the Sith. So I would guess Momin lived in the time before Darth Bane when the Sith were more plentiful. Palpatine also mentions that the Sith found Momin to be heretical in his beliefs and tried to suppress his story. Again, suggesting that there were enough members of the Sith Order to think all that was necessary. As for the shrine on Mustafar, I think any dark side follower, whether they respected Momin or not, would be interested in the strength of the dark side on that planet, and could build a temple to explore it further. Something else I want to briefly talk about is the nature of the dark side and the afterlife. We've been told that the ability to maintain one's consciousness after death is a power reserved for the light side of the Force. But Momin has clearly kept some form of existence after death. A recent junior reader book of all things, The Mighty Chewbacca in the Forest of Fear, showed us something similar with a dark side book holding a malevolent presence as well. I can see this as kind of an extension of Darth Maul surviving being cut in half. Momin is stuck in the helmet as like a last desperate cling to life of any kind. Maybe Darksiders can have some form of life after physical death, but there are strict limitations. Momin is stuck in the helmet. The spirit in the book was likewise stuck in one specific location. So I think we can possibly see Darkside spirits, but they don't have the same freedom that Force Ghosts do. I don't think that Darksiders can become one with the Force, so to speak, the same way Obi-Wan, Yoda, or Anakin did. They're just stuck in this miserable existence where they occasionally get to possess people. I've actually done a whole video talking about this if you want to hear more about it. Before closing out, I want to speculate on what this comic could tell us about the future of Star Wars. Like a lot of fans, I'm very excited to explore the Old Republic era, or the ancient fight between the Jedi and the Sith. I assume our first good look at that period will be in a film. I think it makes sense to let a movie define that world and then build around it. But Lucasfilm has been growing more and more comfortable showing us elements of that era. The Dr. Aphra comic, Momin story, and Easter eggs in Solo, a Star Wars story. I think the idea that Momin was heretical and not considered your average Sith Lord was on purpose because it keeps things undefined. It leaves room for flexibility when we really explore the Sith Order of that time. But the fact that we're starting to actually see more and more story content involving the Old Republic makes me hopeful that there are plans to reveal it fully very soon. My money is still on the Benioff Weiss series, that just seems like it would be right up their alley. But yeah, that's all I have to say about Darth Vader issue 22, which is frankly a lot based on just one issue of one comic. I can't sing Charles Soule's praises enough that we can basically talk about something huge from one of his comics every single month. I left a link in the description to read this issue digitally if you're interested. But what did you guys think of this issue, or the details found inside? Let me know in the comments. If you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and consider checking out our Patreon page. As always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.